So let me just see what's going on here. Okay, hey, looks like I'm live streaming the moon. All right, let me just adjust some exposure settings here, because that is clearly overexposed. So this is the moon through an 80 millimeter refractor. And I've got my Attic 314L Plus color CCD on the back of this. The moon has this pinkish purplish hue to it because of a light pollution filter that I have in there. I was looking at some star clusters earlier, and so the light pollution filter is in there to help out with that. So let me just fix the color. Don't really need actual color. We can just, there we go. So we've just got the luminance. And I'll kind of pretend there's somebody else watching. I don't know if there's anybody watching. Let's see, so how do I share this? So it's saying something isn't optimal. That's fine, I can deal with not optimal. See if anybody wants to join here. It's a little bright. Oh, of course, now it clears up enough to possibly be able to see the asteroid. I don't know if I'm going to go back and try finding it. That was kind of a pain to do the first time. Maybe we can, but let me just leave people with the moon here for a moment, and I'll see if I can get my other camera set up for some close-ups. So we'll see how this looks to people. Okay. And so this is a close-up of the Mare Nectaris region of the moon. This is tilted a bit from, this is rotated 90 degrees from the actual orientation on the moon. So in this image, north is at the right, and the west part of the sky is at the bottom. So it's a little bit different from how we had been viewing things before. Looks like somebody popped in and popped back out. Okay. And again, this is a little bit shaky. I haven't been able to work this out with this camera yet. Maybe there's an additional filter I need to put in here, some electronic filter, to get rid of that waviness. The seeing is not that bad this night. Tonight the seeing is actually pretty crisp, but I find running with this computer and this camera, I often get this this effect going on using SharpCap here. So again, that is the close-up view. And that is a farther out view that comes from a smaller telescope. Right? So this is a view with an 80mm refractor. And then this is the view with a 9¼ Edge HD, Celestron Edge HD. It's got a 0.63 focal reducer on there, and this is with a ZWO ASI 120mm monochrome camera. I also have an 80A blue filter in there because of looking at Venus earlier tonight. Venus is now below where I could see it with the telescope. but this is the view with the bigger telescope, so we're zoomed in closer on a smaller portion of the moon. Let me see if I can demonstrate where that portion of the moon is relative to what we're seeing here. All right, so what we're looking at is going to be just kind of at the edge of the view here. Right? So kind of almost on the border between daylight and darkness on the moon, called the terminator. And this features, I don't know if you can see the cursor. Is there anybody out there? Can anybody hear me? Okay, so there are a few people here. Hey, all right. Is the mouse cursor going retrograde in the background there? I don't know. But let's see. You're here for my first try at doing a live stream with the new version of YouTube and this new software. So I'm not sure. I've got to learn about how the cursor interacts with this software and all. Let me give you the close-up. Were you able to see the close-up? Let me switch back to it. Hang on a second. All right, so there should be the close-up of this portion of the moon. No, it's not switching to the close-up. Okay, hang on a second. Oh, there it is. There it went. Yeah, so here's, again, north is at the right edge, and then toward the west in the sky is at the bottom. Let me just move this around a little bit to get that crater formation in there a little bit better. I apologize for the swimminess. I haven't been able to do anything about that. Unfortunately, you know, it's not the atmosphere. The atmosphere is pretty steady tonight. All right, cool, good. Thank you, Samir. I appreciate it. Yeah, so this is the craters Theophilus, Cyrillus, and Katharina are the large craters at the top of this view. And I'm starting to lose it to clouds here. Let me adjust the exposure to compensate for the clouds. There we go. All right, so now, yeah, despite the clouds, we've got that in there. That is looking pretty sharp. If I can not have to deal with the effects of that shakiness in the camera, that actually looks really good. And it's going behind a cloud, so we'll adjust the exposure to compensate for the cloud. Right? So that's a little overexposed now. But there we go. Right. But yeah, it's the fun of doing astronomy live, is that you know, you have to keep making these compensations based on what's visible, what's available. But this is yes, really lovely looking portion of the moon. All right, so there's the compensation for the cloud moving in there. Let me come a little bit north on the moon here. With the blue filter, the areas of Mare Serenitatis started to look really good earlier tonight, and this cloud is getting thicker. And I think you're starting to see that a little bit in the image. But let me come to the north and see if I can share this portion of Mare Tranquillitatis. So there's Mare Tranquillitatis. The Apollo 11 landing site is right around here. I don't know if you can see the cursor. Let's go farther north. So there's the Sea of Serenity. And some very high contrast craters there. Let me drop the exposure a little bit because the moon is coming through pretty clearly now. So toward the bottom of that area there, the somewhat brighter crater that's on the edge of the large flat area there is the crater Poseidonus. So I've got that just below center is Poseidonus. Toward the right of that, and again that's toward the north on the moon, are Atlas and Hercules. So Hercules would be the slightly deeper crater that's a little bit farther north in this view. Dealing with some clouds, so let's adjust the exposure for that. But yeah, we're looking along the terminator toward the north edge of the moon. Most of what you're seeing here is the Sea of Serenity, Mare Serenitatis. Yeah, I'm giving OBS my first try here, so yeah, thanks, Samir. This is, I appreciate you hanging out and having any feedback for me. I don't know how long I'll keep this up, because again, we are dealing with some clouds. I did have the asteroid in there briefly, so that that was working out, but that part of the sky toward my south is pretty socked in by now, so it's not worth it for me to try for the asteroid again. I can share some of the images that I got of it. Maybe, yeah, hang on a second. Let me bring those up. In another program here. So I got a few pictures of it before I lost everything to the clouds. And I'm hoping that they'll be of use to some minor planet service. But we'll see. We'll see. I guess I got 10 images before the clouds ate everything. All right. Yeah, there's not much to see. It's a dot. It's going to be a lot better if I share this after doing some processing. The other thing is the clouds made the exposures kind of radically different from each other. So that doesn't help. You know, once maybe I apply some flats and some darks and bias frames to this, it'll be worth a little bit more. But as of right now, this was mainly just a session that got eaten by clouds. All right, so how are we doing live here? Yeah, unfortunately, I look off in that direction. I can't see stars in that direction where the asteroid is anymore. You know, from where I am, it's to my south, and I'm looking toward Port of Long Beach, and I can see the lights from the Port of Long Beach just lighting up the cloud in that direction. So as much as I would have loved to have shared that, that won't be happening. I apologize. If I could control the weather, you know I would. It would just make events like this a lot easier to manage and deal with. Okay. Yeah, still just trying some stuff out here. Let's see how this looks. Let me do the large view of the moon again. And, you know, so what's toward the center on this picture is what you will have as the area that's focused in on the close-up. So the close-up is with my 9 1/4 inch Edge HD. This is with an 80 millimeter refractor. So, you know, a wider view. Let's see what I can do with this. So display options. Let's try increasing the zoom a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so with the smaller 80 millimeter refractor, I can get the whole moon in there. But with the 9 1/4 inch scope, all I can really do is the close-up. But each has their merits, right? And again, I'm still just getting used to OBS. Okay, so I guess we cleared out of the cloud a little bit and we're getting some somewhat overexposed moon there. So just drop the exposure a little bit here. All right, and you can see there's a little drift with the telescope. This also might be because I have the telescope tracking at the rate that the stars move across the sky. And the moon moves at a slightly different rate, right? Because the moon moves by about 12 degrees per night. So if I stay locked on the stars, then that means the moon is going to drift with respect to them. All right. Let me get Poseidonus nice and centered there again. All right, so there's Poseidonus in the center of the view. So I'm glad you're able to come along here. Yeah, I'll find some way to post the processed images. I mean, you can always get to them on my Flickr account, right? So that would be there's my Flickr page, and I'll have some of the asteroid ones there. Again, it doesn't look like much; it's just a dot among a star field, but you know, kind of knowing that this thing is about 15 times farther away than the moon that we're looking at right now, and the asteroid's about 2.5 kilometers wide, and well, it's missing this time, and it'll miss the next couple of times it passes near the Earth, but there might be a time in a few thousands or tens of thousands of years when it doesn't miss, and you probably don't, well, again, because it's thousands or tens of thousands of years, you won't be here for it, right? Let's be honest. But again, even if you could be, you probably don't want to be when something that large impacts the Earth. You know, it's not going to cause a dinosaur level like extinction event, but it will make things pretty awful for a while. So good to know where these things are, and thankfully that asteroid is missing us by a wide margin tonight. All right. Okay, I'm a little tired of getting eaten by mosquitoes, so I think I'm going to wrap this up. But I appreciate you coming out and hanging out with me here while I give this a test. So thanks, Dan. Hope things are going well for you there at SC. And thanks, Samir. I appreciate your input on this. At some point I got to try this under slightly better controlled circumstances where one, I'm a little more sure of the weather, and I can make sure I'm not getting eaten by mosquitoes the whole time. I mean, I've got repellent on, so it helps, but man, I'd really prefer to not have to deal with the mosquitoes. Okay, but thanks for hanging out, and hopefully you can join me again for another one of these at some point in the future. You're welcome. All right, take care. Stay safe.